about their necks. The beautiful Lalita Sundari holds a lamp of 5 flames scented with camphor and waves it aloft, offering arati to the divine couple. Parvati, Lakshmi, and the personified Vedas cry in great happiness while rolling on the ground and singing of the fortune or the fortunate position of the damsels of Brajabhumi. Bhakti Vinod resides at Surabhi Kunj in the land of Dhrumadvip, relishing the joy of divine love at the sight of this beautiful arati. So this is a very ecstatic bhajan, and we can sing it and then we can start the class. So, okay. Vrindavana Vasi Jatabale Gora Gadadhara. Okay, keep going. Bale Gora Gadadhare Arati Nehari Bale Gora Gadadhare Arati Nehari Nadia Purabha Bhave Jau Balihari. Next line, next. Kalpataru Tale Ratna Simhasano Pari. Sabu Saki Beshtata Kishora Kishori. Purata Jatita Kota Mani Gajamati. Jamaki Jamaki Labhe Prati Anga Jyoti. Nila Niradalagi Vidyutamala. Duhunganga Mili Shobha Uvana Ujala. Shanka Bhaje Ghanta Bhaje Baje Karatala. Madhura Mridanga Bhaje Paramarasala. Vishakadi Sakhi Vrinda Dohon Guna Gawe. Priya Narma Sakhi Gana chamara dulave. Ananga manjari chuya chandana deove. Mala tira mala rupa manjari lagave. Pancha pradipe dhori karpura bhati. Lalita sundari khore jugala arati. Devi Lakhi Shruti Gana Dharani Lotave. Gopi Jana Adhika Rao Vatagave. Bhakati Vinodarohi Surabhiki Kunje. Arati Darshane Prema Sukhabunje. Go. Bhale Gora Gadadhare Arati Nehari. Bhale Gora Gadadhare Arati Nehari. Nadi apurabha bhave jau balihari. Nadi apurabha bhave jau balihari. Nadi apurabha bhave jau balihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtotara Shri Srimad Abhaya Charanaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtotara Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Thakur Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shyamakund Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Taking over the world with Shri Prabhupada's transcendental book distribution Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamnati Namane. Om Agyanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhisham Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadam Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utafpada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanasute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminati Namine Nija Guru Harivanya Krishna Chitta Vichinto Parihita Pitrigehadyanda Sangsara Kupaha Prabhu Bhajana Sukabdo Madjayan Somsa Vishwo Bhuvi Jayati Vikaso Bhakti Purvo Yatindraha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyati Tesatarine Vagisha Yasya Vadane Lakshmi Yasya Chivakshasi Yasyase Hridaye Samvit Tamrisimhamaham Bhaje Prahalada Hridaya Hladam Bhakta Vidya Vidaranam Sharadunduruchim Bande Parindra Vadanam Harim Mukham Karati Vachalam Pangum Langaite Girim Yatkripathamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramanandam Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we are celebrating the ecstatic appearance day of Shri Gadadhara Pandit. So every morning, every time we chant, every morning we chant the Panchatattva mantra, during the Mangalarti. Before we chant our rounds also, we chant the Panchatattva mantra. And it's very important for us to be able to chant the name of Gadadhara properly. So sometimes we see devotees, they chant, what is that? Sri Advaita Gada. What's the wrong pronunciation? Sri Advaita? Yeah, something like that. So what it usually means, Gadadhara means that a person who holds a club, right? It's the name of Lord Vishnu. The name of Lord Vishnu is a person who holds a club. And Gadadhara Pandit is named after Lord Vishnu. It's a beautiful name of Lord Vishnu, a beautiful person who holds a club. He's named after that. But many devotees, they say something else. What Gadadhara, Gadadhara, which means Gada in Bengali or Hindi means donkey. So we're chanting Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, and then Gadadhara, which means a person who's holding a donkey in his hands. So this person is not part of the Panchatattva. That person is not part. We're worshipping Gadadhara Pandit, not Gadadhara. So my Guru Maharaj speaks about this many, many times. So I thought I'll throw that in there also. That we're worshipping Gadadhara, not Gadadhara. So we're worshipping. Today is the auspicious appearance day of Gadadhara Pandit. So we see that he is he plays a very, very intimate role in the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in so much as he is one among the very, very few associates of Lord Chaitanya who actually were with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the entire existence of Lord Chaitanya, for the entire manifestation of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. That we see that some devotees may have been present during Lord Chaitanya's Navadvip Leela with Lord Chaitanya, and some devotees may have been present with Lord Chaitanya in the Puri Leela after he took sannyas and after he stayed in Jagannath Puri. But Gadadhara Pandit was more or less with Lord Chaitanya the whole time Lord Chaitanya appeared on this planet. It's a very unique situation and position. We see this that Lord Nityananda appeared appeared on the scene many years after Lord Chaitanya had appeared. We see that Advaita Acharya also was with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for most of the time, but he would most of the time live in Shantipur and then come to Puri during like the Chaturmasya period and go back again. And we see that Srivas Thakur, Lord Chaitanya would go and perform kirtans in Srivas Sangam, especially when he first got love for Krishna, or he manifested his symptoms of getting love for Krishna. He first appeared there, and then he he went and he would perform so many kirtans in Srivas Thakur's house. But Gadadhar Pandit was always with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So always with him. Why? So many reasons why. So many reasons why. But we can we think of any devotees who appeared in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes only when he went to Puri and were not there with him before that? Ramananda Roy, right? Then anyone else? The other obvious one. What do you say? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, yes. Sarup Damodar, yes. Sarup Damodar Goswami, like, although he was in Navadvip, although he was in Navadvip, he didn't associate with Lord Chaitanya at that point of time. He was strict brahmachari, and then when he moved to Puri, that's when he started associating with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu more. But Gadadhar Pandit was always with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he appeared in the family of Madhava Mishra, and his mother's name is Ratnavati Mishra. Yes, his mother's name is Ratnavati Mishra. And Lord Chaitanya's name also is what? What after that? Vishwambhara Mishra, right? His father's name, what's Lord Chaitanya's father's name? Jagannath Mishra. So his name is also Vishwambhara Mishra. So, they also have the same last name, but you see this name of Mishra is popular in many parts of India. It's popular all over India. But, it doesn't mean they're particularly related. But yeah, it's popular all over India. And Madhava Mishra's house is right next to Jagannath Mishra's house, very close to Jagannath Mishra's house. So, and Gadadhar Pandit appeared just 1 or 2 years, I think, just a few years after Lord Chaitanya appeared. Gadadhar Pandit appeared in this world. So, right from their childhood, Nimai and Gadai, they would call him Gadai, Gadadhar Pandit, Gadai. They would call him that. They were very, very close. They're very close. And, when you're living in the same neighborhood, in the same village, or even in India right now, even in my childhood, like, if I could go and walk into my neighbor's house and eat whatever she makes, and I could go to have my lunch there, and I could have gone to my other neighbors and have their lunch there, and their kids could come over to my place and they would also have lunch or whatever there. And, there was all, anyway, like, because you're next to each other, you're already family, it's part of most of the cultures in the world, especially Bengal. So many times Lord Chaitanya would just go into the house of Gadadhar Pandit and he would have his meals there, have his lunch there, and, do all that and spend all day there, and he would call, Gadadhar Pandit's parents, his own parents, and same thing with Gadadhar Pandit. So they would spend so much time with each other since childhood, since boyhood. They would both come, they would spend so much time with each other. And, Sachi Devi very much liked Gadadhar Pandit, because ever since he was very young, Gadadhar Pandit was very renounced. He was very simple. He was always very well behaved. He was soft, humble. He was humble, meek, soft-spoken, very respectful to his seniors, all these things. So, he was very dear to anyone who came in touch with him. Anyone who came in touch with Gadadhar Pandit, he was very dear to them. We are talking about Krishna. We're talking about associates of Lord Chaitanya. So, we are Hare Krishna devotees, right? We're devotees of Lord Chaitanya. We're devotees of Krishna. So, when we're talking about Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, we should not find it as a good time to fall asleep. Rather, we should be enlivened, right? Because we are trying to develop love for Krishna, right? Developing love for Krishna. You're developing love for someone. When you hear about them, you become enlivened. You don't fall asleep. So, if we are falling asleep when we're speaking about Krishna, and we're just talking about, Gadadhar Pandit, it's a very ecstatic, it's a very sweet thing. So, if we are falling asleep, we should understand that we're in the mode of ignorance and we should rise above this. Side point. So, so Gadadhar Pandit, he was from his very childhood a very, very attractive person. Everyone loved him very much. He's a small Brahmin boy. Everyone likes, small boys, they're very, very well behaved. Especially if they're well behaved, everyone naturally feels affectionate towards a person especially towards a small boy who's well behaved. Oh, who is that boy? You see sometimes kids are running all over the place, but if one of them is very well behaved, then everyone notices who is that person. So Sachi Mata also noticed that this boy, Gadadhar Pandit, he is also very, very sweet, very humble, very meek. So she would always, you keep Gadadhar Pandit next to Lord Chaitanya. Okay, yes, you be with Lord Chaitanya. It's very good. It's very good for Lord Chaitanya. And We know about the personalities who appeared in Gaura Leela. We know their Swarupas in Krishna Leela because of Bhakti Ratnakar written by Srila Narahari Sarkar Thakur. You know, we know about them because of this book called Bhakti Ratnakar, where he reveals the identification of each devotee in Gaur Leela. He reveals their identification in Krishna's Leela, in the Vrindavan Leela, or other pastimes of the Supreme Lord. For example, Murari Gupta. Who is Murari Gupta when he's not in Gaur Leela? Huh? Wrong. Hanuman. That's right. Madhu Mangal is not Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta is Hanuman. And let's see. Thinking of famous. Who is Advaita Acharya? Mahavishnu and Sadashiva combined. Yes. Then, who is Haridas Thakur? That's a complicated one. Brahma, some people say, yes, Shadurmukha Brahma. There's different opinions. Some people say Shadurmukha Brahma. Some people say it was Prahalad. So some people say it's both. Anyway, they're all transcendental, and all their opinions are perfect. Then let's see, who is Srivas Thakur? Narada Muni, right? So how do we know about all this? We know about all this because of the books written by Srila Narahari Thakur. In his book Bhakti Ratnakar, he reveals the identities. And sometimes when he's talking about the identities of different devotees, at that point of time, sometimes he says there's a differing opinion. That some devotees say he's actually this person, but actually some other devotees say he's this person. So I'm presenting both the facts. But with Gadadhara Pandit, he gives the final conclusion. And whose conclusion does he give? Amongst all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, whose opinion is taken as the final opinion? Swarup Damodar. His opinion? His opinion is always taken as a final opinion. And Swarup Damodar, he confirms that yes, Gadadhar Pandit is none other than Srimati Radharani. So it is such an exalted position of Gadadhar Pandit that he is Srimati Radharani herself. He is Srimati Radharani herself. He has come. He has come to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's why they're always together. We are singing in this bhajan. What's with this? Who kept this up? Or is this that Bhagavatam verse? Okay. Today we're just going to be, singing about and talking about Gadadhar Pandit, So we see that in this bhajan, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the name of this bhajan is Shri Surabhi Kunjer Gora Gadadhar Aratik. So the name of this bhajan itself means that Bhaktivinoda Thakur spent most of his, most of the last years of his life in Surabhi Kunj. It's a place in Mayapur. So it's a place in Navadvip. It's a place in Navadvip, Surabhi Kunj. And this place is still available. You could go and you can take darshan. I had the good fortune of going there, and for many days I was barely eating any prasadam. I had very, very little bit. But when I went there, then this devotee couple came and said, today is such and such day for us, and we wanted to feed all the Vaishnavas. Could we please have the good fortune of feeding you, Prabhu? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then, it was an ecstatic feast, in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bhajan Kutir. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's speaking about performing Arati to Shri Shri Gaura Gadadhara. Most of the devotees who worship Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Gaura Narayana, Shri Chaitanya, they worship him along with his wives. Did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, did Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have wives? Yes. What were their names? And? Lakshmi Priya and Lakshmi Priya? Lakshmi Priya and Vishnu Priya. They were both the wives of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And those devotees who worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of Gaura Gadadhara, in the worship, in the mood of Gaura Narayana, they worship Lord Chaitanya along with his wives, Vishnu Priya and Lakshmi Priya. They worship him like this, and they perform their devotional service accordingly. But the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who worship Gadadhara, who worship Lord Chaitanya as was that Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahe Anya, Rupanuga Janera Jivana. And the Rupanugas, the followers of Sri Rupa Goswami, Prabhu, if you don't mind, you should not put your pen close to your mouth like that. It's not good. So, the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as well as followers of Srila Rupa Goswami, they worship Lord Chaitanya as Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahayanya, Rupa Nuga Janera Jivana. That the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, the followers of Rupa Goswami, Rupa Nuga Janera Jivana, those who are made following the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami, their life and soul, they worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. So those who are worshipping Lord Chaitanya as Sri Sri Radha and Krishna worship Gaura Gadadhara. And yes, I made a note of this. Yes, you know that Gadadhara Pandit is the Gaura Prema Lakshmi. He is, just like how in the spiritual world, in Krishna's Leela, Chintamani Prakara Sadmasu Kalpa Vriksha Laksha Vritesha Sura Bhira Pipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasata Shada Sambhrama Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That Krishna is present in his abode and he's served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. And the supreme goddess of fortune, from whom all of the goddesses of fortune appear, is Srimati Radharani. So, Gadadhar Pandit is said to be Gaura Prema Lakshmi. That he is the Lakshmi who is full of Gaura Prema. My Guru Maharaj, was talking about this in the lecture, and he's every syllable that he writes is a very ecstatic and amazing. But he also is writing a commentary on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is really ecstatic. Had the good fortune. His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami, your spiritual master. Yes, sir, he is. Yes. So he is writing a commentary on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and by good fortune, once I think it was in his presence, or maybe anyway something like that. I got to taste a drop of that nectar, and it's really ecstatic. So he's saying that while he's writing his commentary on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, sometimes it's hard to say whether he or she. It's not like some tiny thing like this crazy stuff going on right now. But like Rupa Goswami, sometimes he's referring to Rupa Goswami, and he's either he's talking about he, but then he's also talking about how Rupa Goswami is in the spiritual world as Rupa Manjari and she, like this. So Gadadhara Pandit also Gaura Prema Lakshmi. He is Gaura Prema Lakshmi. He is the Lakshmi who has full love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worship Sri Sri Gaura Gadadhar. That's right, Sri Gaura Gadadhar Arati Kirtan. They perform Arati of Sri Sri Gaura Gadadhara. And when they perform this Arati of Gaura Gadadhara, they think of the divine couple, the Jugala Murti. What's that? Jugala Priti Dekhi Amora. That when we see the beautiful, loving pastimes of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, or even this bhajan that we were singing, Yugala Murti Dekhi Amora, the Shuddha Bhakata, right? When we see the Jugala Murti, what does the Jugala Murti mean? What does that mean? You know this bhajan, right? The young divine couple. The beautiful couple, Sri 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 Radha and Krishna, Sri Sri Radha Govinda. The beautiful young divine couple of Sri Sri Radha Govinda. When we see that beautiful deities of Sri Sri Radha Govinda, that becomes the perfection of our life. We can become very jubilant, very ecstatic, just by taking darshan of their lordships. That is a perfection. There's no better feast for the eyes than the form of the divine couple. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in this bhajan, he is speaking about Bhale Gaura Gadadharer Arati Ne Hari Nadiya Purabha Bhave Jao Bali Hari. That when with his transcendental eyes, he's beholding the transcendental forms of Sri Sri Gaura Gadadhara. and he's beholding the beautiful transcendental forms of Shri Shri Gaura Gadadhara, at that point of time, he gets a flashback into their previous lives. What was the previous life of Gaura Gadadhara? Who were they? Shri Shri Radha Govinda. When he's performing the Arati, he gets he gets a remembrance of who they were in their past life. Prabhu, can you look up what the verse number of Divyad Vindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanasto? Is Chaitanya Chaitamrita like 114, Adi Leela 1, chapter 1, text number 14? Do you think that's what it is? There's a very beautiful verse describing Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. It's, I can tell you which one it is, Bhakta Tairis, and you can please pull it up. I think it's 1:1:14, 16. Okay, so we can read these verses. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. That we offer, you can see, you go to 1:1:16, please. Adi Leela 1:14. Go to 14 first. Adi Leela chapter 1, text number 14, please. Are you getting ecstatic symptoms? Are you losing your mind? What's going on? 1:1:14. Yes, thank you very much, Abhimanyu. So, I offer my obeisances unto Supreme Lord Krishna, who is non-different from his features as a devotee. Devotional incarnation, devotional manifestation, pure devotee, and devotional energy. So, in this Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam, Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam, Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam, Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. So, so Gadadhar Pandit is, please look at the Sanskrit over here, is Bhakta Shaktikam. He is the pure internal potency of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. He's a pure internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. That is who Gadadhar Pandit is. So the next three verses are a glorification of the divine couple in the three features of Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. What do these three words mean? What does Sambandha mean? Prabhu, you know. Anyone else other than Kalki Prabhu, Ranshwar Prabhu, and our dear Rishabha Prabhu? What does this mean? Sambandha? Relationship. Mitravan. Oh, you're okay, Mitravan too. So everyone else, Sambandha deities, like, we understand our relationship with the Supreme Person by worshipping the beautiful form of Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan. A person can understand their relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why this verse, Jayatam Srotopangor, Mamamanda Matirgati, Mat Sarvasva Padam Bojo, Radha Madana Mohano. That we see over here. Glory to the all-merciful Radha and Madan Mohan. I am lame and ill-advised, yet they are my directors, and their lotus feet are everything to me. So, when we worship, when we're worshipping, Gaura Gadai, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is talking about this ecstatic arti that's going on. And when we're worshipping them, we can understand our relationship. But then also, in this bhajan, he speaks about how he's reminded of the beautiful divine couple, Sri Sri Radha Govinda. We see this in the next verse. This is about Abhideya. What does Abhideya mean? Yeah, we understand, like, Abhideya means how to perform that practical devotional service. So, we're seeing this. This is a really beautiful verse. It's very beautiful. If anyone ever gets to take darshan of Shri Shri Radha Govinda, when we offer our humble obeisances unto their lotus feet, this is a very beautiful verse that we can chant. Divyad Vindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Preshthalabi Sevyamano Smarami. That the translation is, in a temple of jewels in Vrindavan, underneath the desired tree, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my humble obeisances unto them. This is such a beautiful verse. Divyad Vindaranya Kalpadrumada. In a temple of jewels in Vrindavan, underneath the desired tree, Sri Sri Radha Govinda are being worshipped. This is very amazing. This is very ecstatic. Sometimes when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would be dancing in ecstasy, He would become so ecstatic that he would faint and fall on the lap of Gadadhar Pandit. All the devotees would be so ecstatic just seeing this amazing sight of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being upon the lap of Sri Gadadhar Pandit. It's a very ecstatic sight to see. And they're reminded of the divine couple. They're reminded of the divine couple. Sometimes also, Lord Chaitanya is dancing and he faints in ecstasy and he falls on the lotus lap of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And all the devotees, they think, wow, we're so fortunate. Just like Ananta Shesh, who's a plenary portion of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, is holding Mahavishnu, who's another plenary portion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just like that, Nityananda Prabhu is holding the beautiful transcendental form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And similarly also, sometimes when Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are dancing in ecstasy, Lord Nityananda becomes so ecstatic that he faints and he falls on Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is holding him. And Vrindavan Das Thakur says, wow, just see this beautiful sight that Ananta Shesh may have had some amount of transcendental pride in him, that I'm holding the Supreme Lord, but now his transcendental pride is broken, and now he is resting upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these things are very ecstatic. These things are very amazing. This is the most ecstatic thing. There's nothing better than this, actually. Our prajalpa, our movies, our TV, our mind, our fights, our being upset, our all these things are really not worth it. They're really not worth it. What's worth it is this. This is really worth it. It's worth chanting good rounds. It's really worth chanting good rounds. It's worth not falling asleep when chanting good rounds. It's really worth it. Okay, I'm not sleeping, but I'm half asleep. So what's the use? You're not sleeping and you're not awake and you're not paying attention to Krishna. Bottom line. What's the use? What's the use of inattentive japa? Well, there's some use better than not chanting japa for sure. But we should learn to increase the quality of our rounds because everything comes from the holy name of Krishna. This is there. It's all present here. So, and this is such a beautiful verse. In a temple of jewels in Vrindavan, underneath the desired tree, Shri Shri Radha Govinda, as seated, served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my humble obeisances unto them. It's so beautiful. You can also pull up this Vrindavana Ramya Sthan. It's another beautiful bhajan, helping us understand the position, of Shri Shri Radha Govinda. And when Bhaktivinoda Thakur performs Arati to Shri Shri Gaura Gadadhara, there he sees this beautiful sight. He's seeing this beautiful sight. What is this? Vrindavana Ramya Sthan, Divya Chinta Manidam, Ratana Mandira Manohara. Do you really not know how to find this, Prabhu? Please type KK songs after this. Thank you. Yes. So we see this. You can, anyway, I can pull it up too. Vrindavana Ramya Sthan, Divya Chinta Manidam. This is a very Ratana Mandira Manohara. That beautiful Vrindavan is filled with Chintamani gems and many jewel palaces and temples. Many regal swans play in the waters of the Yamuna, and those waters splendid golden lotus flower grows. Abrita Kalindi Nire, Rajahamsa Keli Kare, Tahe Shobhe Kanaka Kamal. Tar Madhya Hema Pita, Ashe Dale Bheshita, Asha Dale Pradhana Naika, Tar Madhye Ratnasane, Basi Achen Dui Jane, Shama Sange Sundari Radhika. In the middle of that lotus is a golden place surrounded by 8 petals. On these 8 petals, the principal gopis reside. And the center, Lord Shyam Sundar and beautiful Srimati Radharani sit on a jewel throne. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur is performing Aarti to Shri Shri Gaura Gadadhar, this is what he is seeing. He is reminded, this is the first line of that bhajan. I'm just stretching upon it a little bit. But this is what he's seeing. Then, I really like the last line. Orupala Banya Rashi. You can pull this up, please. Orupala Banya Rashi. Amiya Pariche Kashi. Hasya Parihasambasane. Narotama Dasa Koi. Nityalila Sukhamoy. Sadai Spuruk Mo Ramane. This is so beautiful. The great beauty of the divine couple and their charming joking and laughter continually showers nectar everywhere. Narottam Das says, I pray that these blissful eternal pastimes of the divine couple may always be manifested in my heart. This is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is seeing when he is worshipping the divine couple. This is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is seeing when he is worshipping Shri Shri Gaura Gadadhara. It's very ecstatic. It's very beautiful. Then, we see this that we see that Gadadhar Pandit is so intimately associated with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that it's hard to think of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as separate from him. If I have time, I would certainly like to go over the rest of this bhajan, but there's few other points which I would definitely have to make. So Gadadhar Pandit, he's a very, very ecstatic personality, and he's always with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's performing the service, and devotees say that he is Srimati Radharani, and Lalita Devi also entered into him. Usually we see in Gaura Leela is a combination of two personalities. Right? Ramananda Roy, who is he? In Krishna Leela? Vishaka, and in the combination of Arjuna also. So intimately associated with Krishna. So one may wonder that if Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is already Shri Shri Radha Krishna, how can Gadadhara be Radha also? Right? We may wonder, how is this possible that Gadadhara, how is it possible that he is also Radha? So the Acharyas explain that Gadadhar Pandit, yes, it's like, that's why Gadadhar Pandit appears on a what night? On a full moon night or a new moon? It's called? What's a new moon called in Sanskrit? Krishna Paksha Amavasya, right? So new moon. So just like, Lord Chaitanya appears on the full moon, Purnima, he's, Krishna steals away all the luster of the moon of Srimati Radharani, and then, Gadadhar Pandit is as a new moon, without that. But, and he comes in the mood of Sri Rukmini Devi, That's why he's always very humble, very, very sweet, very chaste, very submissive. He doesn't fight with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But there's another associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who loves to fight with him. And who is this? He doesn't fight with him so much. Jagadananda Pandit. Anyone read Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the small book? You read? You didn't read? Your own Guru Maharaj's book? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributing this book. You also didn't read. It's a small book. You can read. It's very ecstatic. It's all about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Do we have one handy? There's a beautiful, awesome painting of Jagadananda Pandit, who is actually Satyabhama. And Satyabhama and Krishna, they really, Satyabhama gives Krishna like a transcendentally hard time, and Krishna loves it. Krishna is the only Purusha who can actually handle a lady giving him hard time. Everyone else who tries to handle the ladies giving them a hard time is in for a ride. Certainly. Seriously. Absolutely. So, I'm just looking for this painting of, I know it's here. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this painting. Everyone see this? This painting? This one. So this is Jagadananda Pandit, Satyabhama. This is Satyabhama. Yeah. So he, he always fights with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's like their bhav. They got love for each other, right? That's their bhav. They have like this transcendental. They have, sure. They have like this transcendental relationship where they fight with each other, and Lord Chaitanya, he there's this pastime which is depicted in that picture where he brings him, where Jagadananda Pandit brings him an entire pot of this really amazing like sandalwood oil that Lord Chaitanya could rub on him, rub on his all over his transcendental body. But Lord Chaitanya tells him that a handmade, he made it. Imagine making handmade sandalwood oil. He made it. He walked all the way with it to show to Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya, he thinks that, oh my God, I'm a sannyasi. How is it that I can have such a luxurious thing? Therefore, I do not want to accept this. I don't want to accept this. So he goes up to Jagadananda Pandit and tells him, I really appreciate the love and the effort that you put into doing this and all this, but I cannot accept this sandalwood. I cannot accept because people will criticize me saying, what kind of a sannyasi am I? So then Jagadananda Pandit says, oil? What oil? And he takes this whole pot and bam, throws it on the floor. I never made you any oil. This oil is not for me. I didn't bring you any oil. And he takes the whole thing and smashes it on the floor. And he becomes so angry that he's fasting and he refuses to eat. And then, and like on the third day, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to his home and says, Jagadananda, I'm really hungry. I want you to cook for me. And then after I cook, I will only eat if you eat. Or, something like, am I getting a few details wrong, Kalki? You remember this? That's what happens, right? Yeah. So then, so Lord, so anyway, Jagadananda, he's really fried out, but he can't say no to Lord Chaitanya. So then, like, Lord Chaitanya is eating this prasadam. He says, Jagadananda, I really like this prasadam a lot because when I'm tasting this prasadam, I can taste your anger in it also. But Gadadhara Pandit is not like that. He is very meek and submissive to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he sees, Gadadhara Pandit sees that Lord Chaitanya, he's, ever since Lord Chaitanya became a little scholarly, not little scholar, but ever since he started going to school and was performing the pastime of being a great scholar, Gadadhara Pandit, he would sometimes just try to avoid Lord Chaitanya altogether because, Lord Chaitanya would just, just like how, in a malicious society, how will one boy prove that he's superior to another boy? He's going to bully him, bash him, beat him up, lift him up, all sorts of things, But then in a Brahmin society, the way the boys like show I'm the man, the way they show it is they intellectually defeat the other person. So Lord Chaitanya was very expert at this. He would catch some Brahmin boy and now you have to argue with me, and he would say something and then he would explain this, and he would the Brahmin boy would explain, and Lord Chaitanya would completely smash his arguments to pieces. Then after the boy agreed that Lord Chaitanya is right, then Lord Chaitanya shows that how Lord Chaitanya's own argument is wrong, and he establishes something else on top of that. And the Brahmin boy agrees. Then again he defeats that argument, and he shows himself. And Gadadhara Pandit was very fried out. He was very fried out with Lord Chaitanya, thinking that Navadvip is full of all these. He's full of all these Nyayikas. He's full of all these Nyayikas. He's full of all these logicians who, debate this way, debate that way, debate this way, debate that way. But what is the use of this debating? Ultimately, the bottom line is we have to chant the holy names of Krishna and go back to Godhead. That's the ultimate goal. What's the use of this debating? So all the Vaishnavas, they would think, only if this Nimai could become a pure devotee of Krishna. Oh, that would be so nice. That would be so nice. And Gadadhara Pandit, once he was walking around, and then Lord Chaitanya caught him, and then he asked him, what is the meaning of the word mukti? And then, Gadadhara Pandit, he gives a very basic explanation, like that, being freed from a bodily conception of life and material conception is what mukti is. Lord Chaitanya smashes this and smashes that, and he decides, I don't want to deal with him. I'll deal with him later. So then, seeing that Gadadhara Pandit is avoiding him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells Gadadhara that my dear Gadadhara, now you're avoiding me, thinking I'm a great logician and non-devotee, but you see, soon I'll become such a great devotee that even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva would want to come take darshan of me. And Gadadhara is thinking, oh wow, this Nimai is so arrogant. He's thinking, Gadadhara, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva would come to take darshan of me. How is this possible? And Lord Chaitanya would do all these pranks on people where he would Brahmanas would just finish taking bath, and then in the Ganga, and Lord Chaitanya would also be there, and he would take the Ganga water and spit it on them. The Brahmanas would think, oh, this Nimai is spoiled all, now I have to go take another bath. But actually they don't realize that they're getting the ultimate mercy. The Ganges water is the water that washed the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. But now they were getting water from the mouth of the Supreme Lord. That's even more nectarian. Transcendentally, I guess, comparatively, whatever. But it's coming from Lord Chaitanya's transcendental mouth, but they would think, oh, I got contaminated by this Nimai. And all these things. And Lord Chaitanya would do this, and his parents, and there was so much nectar about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. But anyway, 8:36, oh God, okay. So he would do these kind of things. So Gadadhara Pandit would avoid him as much as possible. And then at one point of time, Lord Chaitanya went to Gaya. He went to Gaya, And when he came back, he had become a completely God intoxicated person. So all the devotees would be meeting at Shiva Sangam, and why would all of them meet at Shiva Sangam? Anyone knows why? Why would they meet? That's there, but Lord Chaitanya started doing the kirtan at Shiva Sangam. But there's another reason why. It's a very ecstatic reason actually. Anyway, that Srivas Thakur had this almost like a kalpa vriksha tree, had this desire tree where this tree would give as many flowers as devotees wanted. So all the devotees who would want to come and do puja in the morning, they would all collect as many flowers as they would like from this tree for their puja. So when all the devotees were there, then Shriman Pandit, he's the first person who broke the news. I have really good news. And he's like, wow, what's the good news? Nimai went to Gaya and came back. They said, wow, that's pretty good news. Nimai came back. But now he's completely a madman for Lord Chaitanya, for Lord Krishna. And he's become a completely great devotee of the Supreme Personality of God. And everyone's like, that's ecstatic. And they all go meet him. And then Lord Chaitanya starts to manifest his pastimes of doing this. Then, Lord Chaitanya, he's become so unpredictably intoxicated in the love of Godhead that he would really do crazy things like jump up and down, hurt his physical body, jumping really high and smashing to the ground, and just performing all these symptoms. And we can just imagine how much anxiety Sachi Devi goes into. This is her son. He's performing all these things. And once, he was with Gadadhara Pandit and he was crying, my dear Gadadhara, where is Krishna? Where is that beautiful blackish boy who plays the flute? Where is he? Where is he, Gadadhara? Where is he? And Gadadhara tells, don't worry, my dear Lord, he's in your heart. Oh, he's in my heart. And then Lord Chaitanya starts to claw at his heart, at his chest, to tear it open and see Krishna. And then Gadadhara says, don't worry. He holds his hand. Don't worry, don't worry. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming very soon. He's coming very soon for you. Don't worry. And then, he calms down Lord Chaitanya. And Sachi Mata sees this and says, wow, I would not know what to do in such a situation, but you knew how to control him. So please, Gadadhara, you always be with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You always be with him. He's become very crazy otherwise. He does all these crazy things, but you please stay with him. Stay with him and take care of him. You take this as your service. As Sachi Mata is giving you a service, you'll take it, right? If Sachi Mata told you to do something, you'll do it. Right? So he also is doing this service of always being with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very ecstatic, very amazing, very, very beautiful. So, he sees this, and Gadadhara Pandit also was so dear. He was so dear to all the devotees that who is Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master? That's right, Ishvara Puri. Ishvara Puri is Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master. And who is Ishvara Puri's spiritual master? Madhavendra Puri. Parampara Jano Bhalo Mate. We should know these. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual master, Ishvara Puri, when he came first as a sannyasi, Advaita Acharya, he realizes that this is his God brother and goes and embraces him in great ecstasy. And everyone understands that this person is a great scholar. He's a great Vaishnav. We should all go hear from him. And Gadadhara Pandit became so dear to Ishvara Puri. He became so dear to him that Ishvara Puri spoke to him his work Krishna Leelamrita. Yeah, Krishna Leelamrita. It's called Krishna Leelamrita. And he spoke to him his own works, giving Gadadhara great pride, great happiness, sorry, not pride, great joy. Giving him great joy. He was so happy. Wow, this is so amazing. Hearing the pastimes from Ishvara Puri, it was so ecstatic. And Lord Chaitanya also, he would never be defeated in an argument, or especially in grammar. Lord Chaitanya would never be defeated in grammar. So, he would come and he would see Ishvara Puri and offer his humble obeisances and hear from him. So then, Ishvara Puri called him and said, see, I know you're a great scholar. Could you please edit my book? Editing work, right? Mitravan. Could you please edit my book? And he said, I can't edit, you are like Ishvara Puri, I can't edit your works like this. He said, no, you edit my work. So Lord Chaitanya went through it. He didn't find any mistake, but he found what he thought was a mistake. Then he went up to Ishvara Puri and said, I think there is one little grammatical mistake here. Maybe you could correct it. And then Ishvara Puri actually tells him, this is not a grammatical mistake. And, he gives him the proper explanation, proper understanding. Then Lord Chaitanya realizes, I've been defeated. It's like Prabhupada was defeated in his argument with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in a debate with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was defeated. Similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was defeated also. And then he thought, this is the first time I'm being defeated. This person must be my spiritual master. And Prabhupada says, this defeat was actually not a defeat, but it was the greatest gain for me, being defeated by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. This defeat was the greatest gain for him. And then he took shelter of Sri Ishwarapuri. So Gadadhara Pandit also was very dear to Ishwarapuri. He would serve him, do all these things. Very amazing, very ecstatic. And he would be able to control Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his great ecstasies. I just made a few notes. I'm just seeing if I'll have the time to go through all this. And yes, one thing, very inspiring thing about Gadadhara Pandit is that ever since he was a small boy, he was a very staunch brahmachari. And he was a staunch brahmachari all his life, and then he took sannyas. So it's very amazing. It's a very inspiring thing. And he went with Lord Chaitanya wherever Lord Chaitanya would go. And Lord Chaitanya received an instruction from Sachi Mata to never leave which place after he took sannyas? Jagannath Puri. So then, he thought, wow, this is very amazing, very nice, very good. Lord Chaitanya has taken, he's received an order from Sachi Mata to never leave Puri. So what I'll do, I'll take Kshetra Sannyas in Jagannath Puri. What does Kshetra Sannyas mean? You can't leave a particular holy place. Jagannath Puri became a Kshetra Sannyas, that he's taken a vow that Frederick is here in the morning. That's amazing. So, doors open, okay. That he's taken a vow that he will always, he will stay in Jagannath Puri. And then Lord Chaitanya, one day he was on the bank of the beach in Navadvip. And then he was in great ecstasy and he thought he was in Yamuna. And then he thought like some hills were like Govardhan. And then he thought, and then he saw like a few sand dunes. And then he said, bring me those sand dunes. And he got those sand dunes. And then he started to like dust off that sand dune. And then from that sand dune, it came out Tota Gopinath. It's a very, 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 very beautiful deity of Shri of Radha and Krishna, Tota Gopinath. Very amazing. I could find a picture of this, and it's honestly, Mitravan Prabhu, this is for your information. It is honestly my desire, the temple room that we build upstairs, it should have, it should look like the temple of Tota Gopinath. That's my desire, but anyway, let's see if that happens. Where is this? I want to find this picture. It's so beautiful. You found one? Yeah, please find one of the deity. I had the good fortune of visiting, So this is a very beautiful deity of Tota Gopinath. You can get it with his associates also, right? Yeah. So very beautiful deity, Tota Gopinath. They're like this. And this is the deity that Gadadhara Pandit worshipped. Lord Chaitanya gave him this deity and told him, my dear Gadadhara, you please worship this deity. You please worship this deity of Tota Gopinath. And while he was performing his worship of Tota Gopinath, he would feel so much ecstasy. But then Lord Chaitanya one day decided that he is going to go to Vrindavan. He's going to go to Vrindavan. And Gadadhara Pandit thought, okay, you're going to Vrindavan, I'm also going to go to Vrindavan. And then Mahaprabhu was telling him, what kind of nonsense is this? You took Kshetra Sannyas. Do not break your religious principles. Do not break your vows. You do not abandon the deity. Once you take a worship of a deity, and this may come as a big shock for some of our friends in the Krishna consciousness movement. This may be a very big shock, but once you worship deities and you install them, and you're supposed to worship them with a certain standard, this is really crazy. You don't abandon the deities. I know it sounds like a crazy thing, right? But it's not. This is the standard set by Prabhupada. If you are not confident that you cannot worship deities to the proper standard, don't get deities. We know we were in one person's house.
Not even second initiated has these deities, making a big joke of deity worship. The deities were, they weren't fed, they weren't clean, they didn't take a bath, nothing, just left somewhere to rot, just like that. It's nonsense deity worship. So Mahaprabhu told, he told Gadadhara Pandit, you see, you don't do this. You don't do this. You don't give up Kshetra Sannyas, don't give up your vow, and don't give up service to the deities. And then Gadadhara Pandit told him, my dear Lord, you know, being with you, seeing your lotus feet is a million times more important for me than worshipping Tota Gopinath. And then Lord Chaitanya was very upset with him, and he would not take no for an answer. He wanted, Gadadhara Pandit to please to stay there and serve. But it's very, Gadadhara Pandit says, to hell with my Kshetra Sannyas. And this is something which is very unlikely for Gadadhara Pandit, because his entire life he was very, like, very austere, we religiously followed and all these things. But, this was very rare for Gadadhara Pandit to say things like this. But then, one of the acharyas, they comment that, you see, that the love that that Gadadhara Pandit felt for Tota Gopinath was so exalted and so ecstatic. But his love for Lord Chaitanya was so much more that, he could give up the worship of Tota Gopinath like that of a straw. It's so amazing. But then Lord Chaitanya told him, he spoke to him very sternly. Are you happy now? Are you happy? Are you happy that, you're broken your Kshetra Sannyas and you're doing all these things? You doing this will give me a bad name. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear that the followers of Lord Chaitanya just abandon their vows and abandon their worship of the deity and just do whatever they like. If you come with me, you will give me great displeasure. But if you stay here and continue worshipping Tota Gopinath, you will give me great pleasure. I don't want to hear this from you. And then Lord Chaitanya gets on the boat to to cross the bank, and he leaves Gadadhar Pandit. And Gadadhar Pandit feels so much separation from that he just faints on the floor. And so Lord Chaitanya tells Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, you please take care of Gadadhar Pandit. You please take care of him. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when Lord Chaitanya, when Gadadhar Pandit comes back to consciousness, he tells him that, you see, although being with you would give Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the greatest pleasure, and certainly, understanding your heart, Lord Chaitanya is very pleased with you. Still, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from Krishna. And what does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? Konteya pratijanihi rame bhakta pranashyati. That my devotee's word, my devotee will never be vanquished. So, and just like how Krishna, in order to keep the vow of Bhishma, what was Bhishma's vow that he took? Yes, of course. Yeah, yes. But like Krishna helped Bhishma uphold one of his vow. What was that vow? What was the vow that Bhishma took? Right. Either Arjuna is going to be killed or Krishna is going to break his vow and pull up a weapon. So, so Bhishma, he does this, and Krishna, does not caring for his own vow, picks up a weapon in order to protect Bhishma's vow. So similarly, the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although it would have given him great happiness to be in the presence of Gadadhar Pandit, he thought it was better for Gadadhar Pandit to maintain his vow. And that's why he did. That's how much Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu loved Gadadhar Pandit and did not want him to be defamed. One of the things also that Gadadhar Pandit, when he was in Tota Gopinath and in Jagannath Puri and he would perform his services, he would have two services, two really ecstatic services. One service is he would like cook bhoga for the deity and come and feed all the devotees. All the devotees would come and they take prasad from him. And then once he invited Sri Nityananda Prabhu and he prepared like the best shak and the best rice and all this. And then Lord Chaitanya just comes unannounced. He just comes unannounced. And he also, what is this? Why didn't you invite me? And then, there's in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there's such ecstatic description of this pastime. It's so ecstatic. It's really amazing. I remember, learning about this 7.5 years ago, and it's still so fresh in my memory. It's really ecstatic. Anyway, what's the time? Okay, super can't read it right now. But it's very ecstatic that that Gadadhara Pandit would be feeding Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. It's very amazing. And then one of the other services that he would have, and this is really ecstatic, is he would be giving Bhagavatam class to the devotees of Lord Chaitanya and Jagannath Puri. Every morning, all the devotees would come to hear the Bhagavatam from Sri Gadadhara Pandit. So it's really ecstatic. It's really ecstatic, Gadadhara Pandit. And anyway, I could touch upon a few more things. Certainly no time. So Gadadhara Pandit also, he was a renowned renunciate his whole life. And then one day, Lord Chaitanya was crying, Pundarik, Pundarik, oh my father, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, where are you, where are you? And all the devotees were wondering, who is this Pundarik, who is this Pundarik? And then, Mukunda understood and he told Gadadhar, I want you to come and meet this great devotee of the Supreme Lord. And Gadadhar said, of course, I would love to meet this great devotee of the Supreme Lord. Let's go. And then he goes to Pundarik Vidyanidhi's house. And when he goes to Pundarik Vidyanidhi's house, he finds that Pundarik Vidyanidhi is wearing like the most opulent garments, and like his hair was like beautifully oiled. And he was surrounded by many young girls who were like fanning him. And he was like chewing pan, and he had like a silver spittoon, and he was spitting his pan into it. And he was living a very luxurious life like a Bengali babu, you know. And Gadadhara Pandit thought that, in his mind, he thought like, I thought I'm going to meet a great devotee, but is Mukunda making a joke? Is he making fun? Is he like pulling my leg? What's going on? This person is not, he's a great materialist. Like so many materialists in Navadvip. And then, understanding Gadadhara Pandit's heart, Mukunda recites this verse, oh, how merciful is Krishna. Krishna is so merciful. Although Putana came to kill him, he gave her the position of being a milk nurse in Vrindavan, in Goloka Vrindavan. And just from hearing this, Pundarik Vidyanidhi's ecstasy becomes so overwhelming that he breaks all the costly, opulent things around him and tears the couch and tears this thing and goes into a mad ecstasy for 6 hours. He goes into a mad ecstasy, and then Gadadhara Pandit, he thinks, oh my God, I've committed such a great offense. How could I have thought like this of this person? Then he thought, the only way that I can make up for my offense is if I become his disciple. And then he proposes makes this proposition to Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And then Pundarik Vidyanidhi says, yes, it's my great fortune that I've gotten a great jewel for a disciple like yourself. And on the Dvadashi Tithi of this month, you will get initiated. So that's how Pundarik Vidyanidhi became the spiritual master of Gadadhara Pandit. And there's so many ecstatic pastimes, where, there's this Vallabha Bhatta who had this commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he said, actually, Sridhar Swami's commentary is not so good. My commentary is better than his. And Lord Chaitanya said, anyone who doesn't have a Swami, I consider them to be a prostitute, and I don't want to hear anything that they have to say. And then Vallabha Bhatta also, he was ostracized from all the devotees, but Gadadhara Pandit was so humble and meek, and he couldn't say no to Vallabha Bhatta. So, Vallabha Bhatta would more or less kind of force Gadadhara Pandit to hear his commentary on the Bhagavatam. And all the devotees were very upset, and he was also getting ostracized from the society of the devotees. So then Gadadhara Pandit couldn't take this this feeling, and he went and he fell flat at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and begged for forgiveness from him. And then Lord Chaitanya, of course, forgives him. And this is the great ecstatic mood of Shri Shri Gaura Gadadhar. It's very ecstatic. And, is when Narottam Das Thakur, he wanted to, or Srinivas Acharya, one of the two, I'm getting my names probably a little mixed up. He had to go and learn the Bhagavatam from a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. And Gadadhar Pandit could not long to bear any separation from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, Gadadhar Pandit, he was so much distraught, and his body was completely burning. And then he felt that, there's no point living, but he just stayed alive for 11 more months after Lord Chaitanya left because he had to bless Srinivas Acharya, for the parampara to go on and stuff like that. Not just parampara to go on, but he had to bless Srinivas Acharya. So therefore he stayed. And the minute Srinivas Acharya came and he blessed him, he left. And another really ecstatic pastime of Toto Gopinath, when Lord Chaitanya found him, Toto Gopinath was actually standing. Toto Gopinath deity was actually standing. And Gadadhara Pandit was worshipping all his life. And at old age, he was not able to raise his arm so high to worship him. So then Toto Gopinath said, "Oh, you're not able to offer me artik properly. What I will do? I will sit down." And this deity who was standing like this, threefold bending form, he sits down. And then now also he's still sitting. And if you go at a particular time in the morning to Jagannath Puri, and I did, at that point of time, the pujari, he will lift the dhoti of Toto Gopinath, and on that on the foot of on the thigh of Toto Gopinath is like this golden spot where Lord Chaitanya when Lord Chaitanya left, he entered into the deity of Toto Gopinath. So that's the spot where Lord Chaitanya entered. And the pujari will show you, and it's very beautiful. This is one of my favorite temples, the Toto Gopinath temple. The prasadam there is also very special and amazing. And even the walls, they have such beautiful paths. Anyway, it's a really ecstatic. And someday, if we are fortunate, we can go. And you don't need to be Indian to visit this temple. Anyone can visit. Puri, Jagannath Puri. Toto Gopinath. You went there? Oh, you didn't go? Okay, it's really exciting. So yeah, this. So he sat down. Toto Gopinath sat down for Gadadhara Pandit. And when Gadadhara Pandit, he would feel so much ecstasy when reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. He would feel so ecstatic when he would read the Srimad Bhagavatam that he would be crying. He would be crying, and all his tears would fall upon the Srimad Bhagavatam. He would feel so ecstatic. And then when Srinivas Acharya or Narottam Das Thakur, they went to learn the Bhagavatam from Gadadhara Pandit. Actually, when Narottam Das Thakur finally comes to meet Gadadhara Pandit, right before he came, Gadadhara Pandit left this world. And then he thought, at least let me look at the Bhagavatam of Gadadhara Pandit. And when he opened the Bhagavatam, he didn't find anything in there. Why? Because the tears of ecstatic love of Gadadhara Pandit had completely washed away all the ink which was in Srimad Bhagavatam. And this he understood to be the real purport of reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Gadadhara Pandit was super into the Srimad Bhagavatam. What does that mean? What does that mean? If we want to please Gadadhara Pandit, what do you think we should do? Anything else? Are we missing out on something else? What do you say? We should not be like a Sahaja and cry. I think this is an easy one, to be honest. You got to distribute the Srimad Bhagavatam. We read the Bhagavatam, we distribute the Bhagavatam, and we live by the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because this is very dear to the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhara Pandit would constantly give classes on 2 pastimes in the Bhagavatam. What are those 2 pastimes? And Dhruva Maharaj. Lord Chaitanya would feel great ecstasy, when he would hear these pastimes. So anyway, we have 1 minute left. If there's any questions, comments, or protests, we can take them now. Anyone has anything? Anyway, sorry. Anyway, I shouldn't. Yes, Macha, go for it, quick.
So we see historically in the Gaudiya Vaishnava
Anyone want to flip the camera?
There was temples with Gaur Gadadhar and everything, and
yeah,
even Prabhupada's guru had a few mutts that were worshiping Gaur Gadadhar, and but we don't really find Prabhupada even hardly mentioning so much about the worship of Gaur Gadadhar. There's very, very slight mention of him in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, but other than that, not so much. And he really emphasized Gaur Nitai. Can you explain this a little bit?
Masya Prabhu is a great person. Although he knows the answer to the question for the welfare of everyone, he is asking. So, one of the reasons is that we worship Gaur Nitai because Lord Nityananda is in the mood of preaching. Srila Prabhupada establishes worship of Gaur Nitai for the preachers, so the preaching can be more So the devotees can feel a lot of inspiration by seeing the worship of Gaur Nitai. And because both of them are in the mood of preaching, Prabhupada also in the mood of preaching, he kept them there. There's also another esoteric reason which I do not want to discuss right now. Is that okay though, that answer?
Even those who were worshiping Gaur Nitai, they didn't neglect preaching. They were super fired up preachers. So
Like who?
like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Like
You saying Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not a super fired up preacher?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like they were worshiping Gaur
Gaura
Gadadhara,
Gadai, yeah.
but they were
Anyway,
also
that's,
really
we
into
can also
preaching.
understand it's Prabhupada's mood. Also, he wanted us to worship Gaur Nitai like that. Okay. Do the Matajis have anything? We can take one real quick from them. I can't see them, so yes, no, okay, no, okay, all right. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Shri Gadadhar Pandit ki Gadadhara Pandit ki Jai. Vancha kalpatarubhya kripa sindhubhya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.